Look at the weather.
It's beautiful here.
Non-stop rain.
Oh, man, it is a blazer out there.
It's cold and it's shivery.
It is cold.
Really coming down here.
I really enjoy your weather reports.
From the All Indiana Podcast Network, we're talking weather in a whole new way. From historical events to what's coming up, plus weather news, science, safety, fun facts, and more.
I like where this is going.
This is Weather Weekly. Weather Weekly with Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Marcus Bailey.
It is episode 218, Weather Weekly. Good to be with you. Happy month of March. We made it. Didn't feel like it over this past weekend, but we are in the month of March. It is officially now meteorological spring. So hopefully we're looking forward to more and more warm days ahead. And I do have some coming up in the extended forecast. It also may potentially come with some thunderstorms and maybe even the threat for severe weather over parts of the country. So we are getting into that part of the year here coming up. But yes, nice to always flip the month of March. So we'll talk about kind of this active week that we have coming up ahead here. Several rain opportunities, and it is a bit of a roller coaster ride temperature-wise, as you would expect. As we are in a transitional period now, going from winter to spring here. And of course, we'll look back at the month of February as well. That's all coming up next, the week ahead for March 3rd, 2025. That's next on Weather Weekly. It is the week ahead for March 3rd, 2025. Crazy we're already here, but here we are. Let's get you through this. This is going to be a busy forecast here. We get a little bit of everything. And I mean, look, it's to be expected when you get to this time of year, right? March can provide a whole host of weather events. You can get severe weather, you can get very mild temperatures, you can get snowstorms. So a lot of things that come down. I think I was remembering last year, it was like the first Friday after Ash Wednesday, right? Now I think it was a little bit earlier. We, the Easter Lenten season and all that kind of goes a little bit later this year. But it was that Friday that we had like an overachieving snow. And I think that was also during All-Star Weekend. So that's like same time frame, late February, early March, where we had to deal with the pretty heavy snowfall there. So, that was coming after very mild days. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I am saying that it is possible throughout the month of March, all right? So just because we've got some warm days ahead, don't get your hopes up that we have turned the corner completely, okay? All right, let's start with Monday the 3rd. I don't really see any major issues. We're going to rebound a bit after a chilly weekend. You've got some ridging in the upper levels. All that means is you got high pressure, stable air. You're going to get more of a southerly flow. So that's going to kind of help boost the temperatures a little bit. I've got highs into the upper 40s, around 48 here in Indianapolis. So it should be a good one there. For Monday night, I'm going to go with increasing clouds. There could be a slight rain chance. What's going to end up happening is we've got a very dynamic system that's going to start working or forming just east of the Rockies. All right. And it's going to stack up against each other and it's going to pull in moisture. It's going to get real wound up. Doesn't really have a major impact on us for Monday. It will head our way for Tuesday and Wednesday. But out ahead of that, by Monday night, I'm going to go mostly cloudy. And as we approach daybreak at the earliest, I got to mention maybe a rain opportunity. I think most areas are probably going to be dry through Monday night. And lows will be around 40 degrees. So not too bad. All right. Now, leading into Tuesday. Tuesday is going to be much warmer, all right? You're going to have some unstable air, a lot of instability, and that dynamic system that will be pushing through, all right? So I'm going to go the high of 60. Rain chances could start fairly light as, cloud cover kind of builds in. For the most part, it could happen as early as the morning hours and certainly into the afternoon. But again, I think the precip will be relatively light. Right now, I think Tuesday night is when you really start to kind of look at heavy rainfall and the potential for some thunderstorms, okay? So a high of 60 Tuesday. with just some light to maybe moderate showers. I think as we get deeper into the day, then you increase your coverage and your intensity of rain. Certainly going into Tuesday night, all right? So you've got a powerful system coming through. You've got pretty strong, what we would call low-level jet, all right? You hear sometimes talking about the jet stream, and that is way up in the atmosphere, like where planes, like jets fly, right? But there's also a thing called the low-level jet, which is much lower in the atmosphere. And it also can help aid in storm formation and movement and all that other kind of stuff. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but know that there is a very strong river of air that's going to be in the lower levels, not at where we're at the surface, but sometimes if you get some of these thunderstorms, it can knock down some of those wind gusts, all right? So that said, there is a potential for severe weather. However, I think the greatest potential, at least in the state of Indiana, is going to be probably along the Ohio River, maybe southwestern parts of Indiana. For this storm complex, it is going to be much more dynamic, probably in the areas of eastern Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi. That might be a bullseye where there's better tornadic ingredients, strong winds potentially. So that will be the area that, us as meteorologists will be kind of keeping an eye on, because that could be a bit hairy. For us in central Indiana for Tuesday night, again, specifically, there is that outside chance for severe weather. It would mainly be a damaging wind threat. All right, because it would probably be a line of storms. Otherwise, I think heavy rain is going to be our biggest concern. Easily could see maybe an inch to an inch and a half. There could be some isolated areas that see a little bit more than that. All right, and certainly areas down to the south that we've receded a lot of the flood warnings on many of the rivers. When you get closer to Kentucky, where they had that devastated flooding a couple of weeks ago, I mean, look, it's not going to take a whole lot to agitate that again. So that will be something that we'll have to monitor. All right. So Tuesday night, your overnight lows will be into the mid 40s. Rain will continue into Wednesday. The system will depart. So I do think you'll have some kind of just light to moderate showers early Wednesday morning. And then what's going to end up happening is there's a rush of colder temperatures coming. And I do think it is very much possible that we will flip the switch to maybe some light snow showers. At worst, we might get a little coating on some grass areas. It doesn't look like you're going to have a ton of moisture left over to create any major problems. Of course, we know things can change this far out. But right now, I think it's just mainly you're going to have snow flying around on Wednesday, specifically in the afternoon. Shouldn't cause major concerns, but just be aware, listen, I mean, we're going to be getting colder. You might have some slick spots and that kind of stuff. All right. So we'll keep an eye on that, but no, significant accumulation or anything like that. Highs on Wednesday will be at 53, but that's going to end up probably falling throughout the day. So that'll be closer to kind of a morning high. All right. Overnight lows will be in the upper 20s then Thursday night. Wednesday night. Now let's go into Thursday. Thursday, you'll have high pressure from Canada. So it means it's going to be much colder. All right. Now it'll be bright, slightly below average. It's going to be frigid. I've got highs in the mid 40s. So it's not terrible, but it's not awesome. Okay. So yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I know I'm kind of all over the place. Let me go back. Tuesday and Wednesday, not only will this system bring rain, thunderstorms, all that kind of stuff, I do think that there is the potential for non-thunderstorm winds, or what we call gradient winds, kind of like what we had on Friday, right? It was super windy. I don't know if it'll be quite that high, but I think it's going to be close. It'll be borderline wind advisory type of days, Tuesday and Wednesday, so please be aware of that. That won't be associated with thunderstorms. That will be area-wide. So I'm thinking we probably at least get 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts, okay? When you run to get into the advisory range, you're going over 45 to 50. I think it's going to be close. So I just want to give you an early heads up about that, Tuesday and Wednesday. All right, just want to take a step back from that. All right, back to Thursday. Thursday looks, again, bright, cooler, highs in the mid-40s. Friday, seasonably cool again. I don't see anything too significant. I'll throw in an outside shot for a shower. Doesn't look overly impressive right now. Mostly cloudy and highs around 50. The weekend, same thing. There's nothing real major, any precipitation chances will be spotty. It looks like it'd be warm enough for rain. Probably mid to upper 40s, very seasonable as we go into Saturday. And I think same thing on Sunday. Now, I will say this. Now, I'm going to go probably mid to upper 40s for both days this weekend. There are some signs then once we go into the following week, so this would be March 10th, Monday, that will warm back up into the 60s. Again, I don't see, from what I can tell in the long-range projections, especially in the ensemble runs, I'm not seeing signs that, even when we warm up, that it's going to stick. You will likely see a lot of back and forth. I mean, I'm just running through the model projection, just the most recent one right now. I mean, again, looking at March or the weekend, you're kind of on the borderline. So you're right around average, but then you go into what I just mentioned, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, very warm. Maybe even into the 13th, 14th looks pretty warm. So maybe next week is pretty mild, but then you get into the end of that weekend, it flips back to below average. So these are just the ebbs and flows that you get into really for the whole month of March. What is that old saying? It's in like a lion and out like a lamb. It sometimes will calm down by the end of the month, but it's a lot of action. It's just the earth always is trying to equal itself out. And so we're going from the winter months, which are cold consistently, to now tapping into some warmer air. And so the back and forth, you get a lot of action, you get a lot of wind. I think we're going to have more of these days, unfortunately, where you get some of these real gusty conditions. But that is standard for this time of year. So there you have it. But at least, if you're done with the cold, I say it all the time. I think I mentioned to my kids, we were coming back from Muncie for a family thing over the weekend. We went in, left probably around 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I just said, I am so sick and tired of it being cold. Sick and tired of it. I know it's standard for Indiana, but I'm ready to move on. I'm ready for some warm days, ready to be outside a little bit. And hopefully we're going to at least get a taste of that for more than just a day and then have to wait for several more weeks to get it. We'll get a few more days. Hopefully coming up here in the extended. All right. Coming up, we'll do a recap of February. We'll look at the 8 to 14 day outlook as well and put a tiny little bow on all of this as well. As we wrap things up for this week ahead podcast for March 3rd, 2025. We'll see you next here on Weather Week. All right, let's do some February stats since we won't spend a lot of time on what we've done in March since we're only a couple of days in. All right, February 2025. These are preliminary from the Weather Service. It wasn't actually that impressive. Kind of just put us in the middle of the road in like a lot of categories. It ended up being the 72nd coldest February. So again, that's not super impressive. We tied for that. I know it felt colder than that. 72nd, also least snowiest February on record. It wasn't an exceptionally snowy February. We got most of our snow in January, obviously with that big one that we had. A couple of them that were there. Let's go temperatures. Average temperature in Indianapolis for the month was 31.9. The departure from normal was about a half a degree, down half of a degree. 68 was the warmest. That was back on the 3rd. That was a record setter. And then the lowest temperature, coldest, was 2. That was on the 20th. So we didn't have a day that went below 0. Liquid precipitation for the month was 1.52. That's down 0.91. Wettest day was 0.81 on the 15th. And the longest dry stretch we had was, we did it 3 days. We did that twice, the 1st through the 3rd, and then the 9th through the 11th. By the way, in our area, the highest precip number was Bloomington at 2.16. Let's see. What else? There wasn't too much here. Minor flooding, obviously, during the middle of the month. That was mainly in southern parts of the state. The harder hit areas were the hardest hit areas were down in Kentucky. So we thankfully missed out on that. But there was widespread 2 to 3 inches on the 15th and 16th. Lawrence and Monroe County picked up about 4 to 5 inches of rainfall. So there was some flooding that happened there. We did have the ice. The 12th. So that was a pretty active week, right? The 12th we had ice, and then the 15th and 16th we had heavy rain. highest ice accumulations were northeastern Marion County up toward Anderson, picked up almost 1/4 of an inch of ice on that day. So that's kind of where we stood for the month of February. All right. Now, for March, the March outlook, again, Weather Service. We do receive about 3.69 inches of rainfall. And I think it's important to note, and this goes back to my earlier statement when we started the podcast, that we absolutely get snow in March many times. We actually average 3.2 inches of snow for the month of March. So not done by any stretch. I don't see any accumulation in this forecast. But listen, I've been here long enough to know you can go well into April and still get some snow. Don't want it. Hope it doesn't happen. But again, we not ready to close the book out on winter 2025 just yet. Okay. All right, let's do, I know we kind of went deep, so I'm kind of probably just reiterating what I was talking about earlier, but the 8 to 14 days, so this would be March 9th to the 15th, this will take you to the middle of the month, an extremely strong signal for above average temperatures. And again, I mentioned that much of next week appears to be pretty warm, okay? Can things change? Sure. But we usually get a good handle on temperatures. Precip's always a kind of a different animal, but we can usually see some trends when it goes to temperatures. So it looks good that next week, when we're talking next week on this podcast, that we'll be forecasting, hopefully the majority, maybe not the whole week, but the majority of the week will be warmer than average. There's some signals too in that time frame that we might be a little bit wetter than normal too. All right. Not super strong, but maybe a little bit more action. And then the updated monthly outlook for March. This was updated on the 28th, so on Friday. Above average temperatures and above average precipitation. Okay. So a lot of back and forth, but hopefully we're going to be leaning a little more toward warm, or your warms may be really warm, and then your colds may not be all that cold, like not frigid air. Like I'm hoping, we had kind of that, it wasn't a full blast of the polar vortex. It's kind of a glancing blow, if you will. Last week when it got real chilly, right? That last week of February. I'm hoping that was the last of that type of cold. Okay. And once you start getting into March and April, it's kind of hard to get that cold air mass this far south. Can't say it can't happen. The odds are much lower though. All right. You'll still have your bouts of chilly, but frigid, I think we hopefully are done with for the season. All right. That'll do it for this week's podcast. Always love to hear your feedback. Shoot me an email anytime. Marcus.Bailey@wishtv.com. You can also reach me on socials. On Facebook, it's at Marcus Bailey Weather. Just type in Marcus Bailey Weather. On X, TikTok, and Instagram, it's at Marcus Bailey. Okay. So hit me up on any of those. I check my messages relatively frequently. So shoot me a message if you guys have any questions or comments or anything like that. You can always get our forecast 24 hours a day as well. WishTV.com, also our Storm Track 8 weather app. Just go to your phone's app store and search for Wish TV Weather. And then you can always get my forecast on the TV side from 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Daybreak, Monday through Friday. Wish TV in Indianapolis locally, and always online at wishtv.com, and hit the live stream. You can find us there as well. Hope to see you there. While you're here, make sure to check out all the other great podcasts, all part of the All Indiana Podcast Network. Have a wonderful week. We will talk to you soon, and God bless.
Discover more from Storm Track 8 Weather and Wish TV. Online at wishtv.com, and when you follow Wish TV on Facebook. Plus, be sure to check out more great podcasts from the All Indiana Podcast Network now at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.